Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial, and today we're in Damage Control Central. Last week we got the chance to visit USS Midway in San Diego, California, and it was an incredible experience visiting that ship. She's completed about 2 years after New Jersey, about 2.5 years after, in September of 1945. She's about 45,000 tons of commissioning, so very similar size, very similar time period to this ship. Extremely similar power plant. We've talked about that in the past. But aircraft carriers are just a whole nother scale larger than us. And of course, throughout her career, which is very similar years to Battleship New Jersey, we're decommissioned for the most recent time in 1991. They're decommissioned in 1992. Now, obviously, they stay in service nearly continually throughout that time, except for the two major periods where they're getting big upgrades. And those big upgrades, if you think that the changes that the Iowa class gets over time, it's nothing compared to what Midway got. For today's video, our sponsor is Magic Spoon cereal. Magic Spoon fits a variety of diets, is high protein, and has no sugar. Magic Spoon is an easy source of protein. It makes it so convenient for me to eat more protein when I'm too busy or tired to cook. Magic Spoon tastes just like the cereal we loved as kids. The most popular flavors are fruity, cocoa, frosted, peanut butter, but there are many more. Today, I'm eating cinnamon roll. As a grade school kid, I used to eat cereal on my days off just before building model ships. As an adult kid, I eat it for lunch while working on my 1-to-1 scale model ship. But I don't have to feel bad about eating children's cereal because every serving of Magic Spoon has 13 to 14 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs, so you can feel good about what you're eating. Use my code BATTLESHIP or click the link in the description to try Magic Spoon cereal today and get $5 off. You can also find Magic Spoon on Amazon or in your nearest grocery store. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee online. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. We were in their Damage Control Central space, which is set up like it would have been during the Gulf War time period. And it got me thinking about just how small Damage Control Central is on an Iowa-class battleship. And that's where we are today. Ours is set up the way it would have looked like right before the ship was decommissioned, right before the Gulf War, so the exact same time period. We have two ships that were built, very similar lengths, very similar displacements, very similar speeds, just built to do different jobs, but both designed to be capital ship, flag ships. And it's interesting to me that the one that was designed to go into combat like directly and sustain damage has the smaller damage control space. The first thing I wanted to check on when we got off the plane from San Diego was how many sailors cram themselves into this tiny room. Now, let's see, this room is maybe 2 curators wide at most, and maybe 3, maybe 4 curators deep. So we're looking at something like 12 by 18 feet for this space, and of course that doesn't account for all the equipment that's just taking up space in here. But we have the ship's battle organization that was found on board, and it lists in here billets for 23 sailors. And that's just Damage Control Central. It doesn't talk about Central Station, which is the auxiliary steering position right through that door there. So we're looking at the Damage Control Officer, the Damage Control Supervisor, a fuel oil transfer person, an Ordnance Advisor, and an Assistant Ordnance Advisor, a Liquid Load Advisor, 7 different recorder talkers, so they're just on the various phone circuits from 2JZ to 8JZ, so they're listening in and recording it, and I suspect that's what these stools and counters are for, them writing stuff out. Interestingly, there's 7 of them. There are 7 stools in this space. There are 2 on the side where you are with the camera. There are 3 right here with me, and a 4th one that's missing. So that would be the 8th stool. And then there's 2 more behind me, but they don't have anywhere to write. Now, importantly, you've got a tremendous number of sound-powered phone circuits here, and you've got stowage down here for sound-powered headsets. And then in that corner of the room, you've got a helmet rack with a ton of the big Mickey Mouse helmets that you would wear over a sound-powered phone set. So what the book is saying is lining up pretty closely with what we're seeing the purpose of the room, which isn't surprising, but it's just nice to see. There is a command talker plotter, so this gentleman would probably be on the boards behind us plotting stuff out with a grease pencil. An engine room talker, a fire room talker, a hospital corpsman, and then 6 folks who are repairmen, sounding and security patrol. So while they are assigned to this space, I'm not sure that they would have actually been in this space all the time. 23 folks seems kind of cramped. Even taking them out and just leaving 17 folks, that's pretty cramped. Like I said, there's 7 seats, so that's still leaving 10 guys standing around this space. But they are probably folks that can be sent off by the DCA, the damage control assistant in charge of the space, to go out and check things out, inspect things, take soundings if we are taking flooding, do those sorts of things. So let's do a brief look at some of the equipment that's in this space. It's all very similar to what Midway had, just crammed into a much tighter space. So first off, we've got this alarm panel. Unfortunately, over the last 30 years or so, almost all of the paper tags on this panel have completely disintegrated. There's only one here that's left, but it shows that it was a 5-inch magazine high temperature alarm and it gives the compartment number. And some of the little bits that you can still read on these say ABL or magazine or things like that. So it's an alarm switchboard for, I assume, all of the different magazine spaces around the ship, because there's quite a few of them on here. And then we've already talked about some of this stuff behind me. You've got all sorts of places for the guys with sound-powered phones to plug in. As we come around this way, of course, we've talked about sound-powered phone stowage, and then you've got the flood mechanism for the forward 16-inch magazine groups. So if the order is given to flood the magazines, this is where you can remotely flood the 16-inch forward magazines. We can also call on one of the sound-powered circuits on the gunnery line back to the folks who would be with the aft remote control stations for the aft turret magazine groups. As we move around the room, this box here might be the newest piece of equipment in the room. This is another one of those alarm systems like the wall over there, but it's for the RATO magazines. RATO is rocket assisted takeoff. That is what launches the RPV drones. So those drones were not added to this ship until the late 80s. That's when that space in the base of the forward conning tower was converted into the RATO magazine. So this alarm system was added at that time, and I bet you it ties right back into the main alarm panel over there. Coming up, we've got our deluge system, our flood system for the Tomahawk cruise missiles, the armored box launchers that were added. So these are all here. You can flood your 16-inch magazines, you can flood your Tomahawks. And then as we continue around the room, we've got these doors that open up just like this, and this is where your damage control plates would be displayed. And then you've got the spare damage control plates down here. Complete set for an Iowa-class battleship is something like 45 different plates, give or take a couple, I can't remember the exact number. And they focus on different systems. There's one that just lists all the phone circuits. There's one that shows the flooding stuff. This one is just showing chilled water systems. Let's see. Oh, this one's just the damage control diagram for compartmentalization. And you can see this is only showing about half of the decks on the ship, so you would need another set of plates to do another one, but each one of these books is several pages, so you can flip through and get different stuff, and if the stuff you need is not on there, you pull more out from here. These sheets are all laminated. That keeps them from being damaged when you're putting them up makes them a little bit stiffer so they will stand upright. And most importantly, it allows you to write on them in grease pencil so that you can write on them damages reported here and whatnot. You can start marking that out and marking actions. We've done videos on that sort of stuff before. And then when the time comes, you can then erase it all and the sheet is back to normal again. And then continuing around the room, we've got more communication stuff. And that should be the takeaway from this video. We've got magazine flood stuff and alarms, and we've got all the communication stuff. So your 4MC, your 21MC, your 23MC, all sorts of ways of communicating compartment to compartment, because that's the most important thing. I guess we haven't talked about what the Damage Control Central is for. This is where all damage being taken on the ship is reported back to, and then from here we are reaching out to the various repair lockers and telling which repair lockers to go where and deal with what problems. So both being able to receive communications and then transmit out to the rest of the ship is vitally important from this ship. While the Iowa-class battleships definitely received modifications to their internal compartment layouts, it's not all that radical, especially here in the Armored Citadel where Damage Control Central is. We're just aft of turret number 2 and just forward of all the engineering main spaces that way. Because there weren't really severe changes to the compartmentalization inside this part of the ship, it means that Damage Control Central was never able to expand beyond what it is, even though they continued to add more equipment in here, like the alarms for the radar magazines, like the flood switches for the missiles. And so this would have been an extremely cramped space, and I imagine discipline would have been very, very tight in here because you've got a bunch of guys on phones recording what's being said, passing information, receiving information, at a time that's very, very stressful potentially, with the ship taking damage and having to counter flood or fight fires or any number of things. Thankfully, that training was never put to the test in any serious way on this ship. She was only damaged by enemy fire on the one occasion that we're aware of in May of 1951. That damage was negligible, and I'm sure this space would have been used during non-combat related damage that occurred, things like fuel oil spills or collisions or stuff like that. So what's a space you'd like to see us go through in more depth in the future? Let us know in the comment section down below. And remember to click the link in the description below to check out Magic Spoon's offerings and get $5 off your next order with the discount code Battleship. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate Magic Spoons supporting this video. You can support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about the channel and our museum. Thanks for watching.